Shalom, people. This is Brother Laos coming at you with another video. And in the last, I want to say, maybe 15 years, we've been seeing a lot of testimonies of people coming out from these fraternities and sororities. I know it's in the headlines today, but this is not nothing new. I can remember when I was in Christianity, I used to follow G. Craig Lewis a lot. And one of the things, that he did with his EX ministry is he used to, produce documentaries and stuff about fraternities and sororities, and he would talk about how he would minister to people and help them come up out of these things. And I can remember the testimony back then of a lady that was AKA. So this is not nothing new. And I'm sure before EX Ministries came out that there were people that was coming out of that. So this is not nothing new. It really is not. But what it is for this generation, right? For their iteration of some of them that have been in it, that have heard from family members and all of them of the things that advantages and stuff that you would get from becoming part of a fraternity or sorority that now is because of social media platforms and people being able to get their 15 minutes of fame just like that. In the last some of years, there's been a multiplicity of a lot of, and it seems to be mostly black women that were in sororities that have been coming out and denouncing not just the deltas, but the AKAs and all these different things. But again, I want you to understand, this is not new. It is not new by no means whatsoever. Now, back even when I was in Christianity, I knew, well, even before, let me take that back. Even before I was a believer, for some reason, it was something in me that said, don't ever join no fraternity, don't join no Masons or anything. And I wasn't understanding that much about what they were at that time growing up, but I always knew I did not want to be part of that. I had determined in myself that I did not want to be part of anything that would tell me I got to do this ridiculous stuff in order to be part of them, the initiations. And so what I want you to understand that initiations and different things are not, they're not limited to fraternities and sororities and secret societies. They are not. I mean, look at the Fraternal Order Police Department, right? When you join the police department, you have to join a fraternal order. Now, of course, they don't send you through, well, let me take that back. You have to go, as a police officer, law enforcement officer, you have to go to their academies. So I'm sure within those academies, before you graduate, because you're going to be part of that fraternal order of police, you're going to be part of that police lodge. I'm sure they probably have things that they have to go through. So let me retract that statement. You probably do have certain things that they say, okay, now you're going to be police firefighter, you're going to be a police officer. Now this is something extra on top of the classwork that you got to show that you pledge for, sort of like in doctors and nurses when they take that Hippocratic oath, right? They're taking that Hippocratic oath to that thing, that coil, that's the two snakes coiled around that pole or whatever, right? It's not particular to fraternities, sororities, secret societies, and say it's everywhere. But what we want to talk about today, this is to give you kind of my my testimony of me denouncing Alpha Chi. I want to, and it's not gonna be something that is, all inspiring or whatever, like some of these people that were in the Divine Nine. But back in the 2000s, I had an opportunity to go to school at the age of 40 through my VA benefits because of my disabilities from being in the military. They opened up an opportunity for me to go to college, because I never had went to college. I had never went to college. When I graduated from high school, I went straight into the military. And while I was in the military, not using my head, I did not take advantage of going to college courses like I should have. I didn't get the GI Bill. I should have. But the opportunity was made available for me to go to college in order for me to get a degree, because I wanted to get out of doing some of the factory work that I was doing when I got out of the military. The job, the military occupational specialty that I had did not afford me that many skills getting out to go into a lot of private sector. So I had to go into all these really dangerous jobs, working at chemical factories, working around harsh chemicals. And I already had disabilities. I had been in the military, working at wood mills, all these kind of crazy dangerous jobs and stuff, working around furnaces, all kind of crazy stuff. So I was like, look, I gotta do something different. So make a long story short, they opened up an opportunity for me to go to college. So when I went to college, I went to HBCU. I did graduate. They gave me some credits for my life experience. It was a program it was called a continual adult program for people that was either working, that were of older age like myself at that time, that wanted to get a degree using some of their life skills, and also to be able to switch into different fields. So anyway, make a long story short, my experience as a adult student, because it was like I said, it was a continuing adult program. So most of the people that was in my class, they were adult, up in age like me. Some of them were working still, and some of them was coming back to school to finish up what they hadn't finished when they was. So we kind of related. It wasn't like we had a bunch of freshmen and stuff like that. It wasn't that kind, because actually the main campus was up in Raleigh, but this was just like a satellite campus, in this area where I live. So anyway, like I said, it was good. I mean, the experience of, even though I could say it wasn't like a quote traditional college atmosphere, like I said, with kids out of high school and all that stuff. This was, like I said, people that had been average Joes that had worked 9 to 5 jobs, or were not working 9 to 5 jobs, or were in corporate America and trying to get that other degree, that master's degree, so they could go higher. And so we kind of related, when we talked and stuff like that. And so I remember my thing was, for me, that this is my job, because I got the schooling through the VA program for employment. So it wasn't so much concerned with me getting a college degree as it was re-educating me to go into a different field, because they want veterans to be working. So if they have to send you to college to get a degree or a trade school, they will, in order to help you to either get your job, or if you want to run a business and you need to go get some business classes in order to learn how to write. But they will do that. And so anyway, I try to maintain my grades. I said, this is my job for the time that I am in school. This is my job, is to get the best grade that I can get to pass and get my degree and then go on to retrain into something else. So my grades was pretty good. So much so that they have this and it's not really what you would say a fraternity sorority. It's a fraternity. It's a Greek organization, but it's for men and women, because it's not, like I said, it's for those non-traditional type of college courses where you're not gonna have people staying in dorms and stuff. It's kind of like that. So it's called Alpha Chi. And what it is supposed to be based on you maintaining certain grades and stuff like that. And it's supposed to be when you join in of it's supposed to be something that you can later on, when you graduate, you can go to your employee and say, oh yeah, I'm a member of Alpha Chi. So remembering that I had always said in myself that I would never join no fraternities or sororities. And even after I got saved, right, and I studied even more about why we shouldn't handle any of these things, I said, no, I know this stuff is not of the Most High, because of what they have to pledge and all this stuff. So when it was presented to me about Alpha Chi, originally I said, nah, I ain't doing that. I'm not messing with that. But they said, listen, because I remember some of my classmates came to me and they said, look, it's not about all that. It's not about you doing no initiations and all that stuff. They just give you a paper and they just put your name in. So I said, at that time, like I said, I don't know what, I wasn't, I basically kind of was, when you have a group of people that you with or whatever, and they say, hey, we believers too, just like you, we would never do anything like that or whatever. You kind of let your guard down. So I let my guard down, and I was like, well, I guess it's okay. We ain't got to do no chanting. It ain't got no connection to this, that. So anyway, make a long story short, I said, okay, yeah. And I talked to my wife about it. She said, yeah, go ahead and do it. And so I decided to go ahead and do it. And I can remember when they told us, they said, okay, well, the ceremony is going to be at this little campus or whatever, right? And they said, okay, they gave us the date and everything. And so they gave us this paper, and I say I threw out it. Well, I gotta tell you, I'll tell you that part when I get to it. But anyway, they gave us this paper, right? And they said, this is where it's gonna be. This is the order. And then when we got there for the ceremony, they said, here's the paper, right? They said, and here's a candle. And I said, I'm sitting there, I'm not thinking, a candle. I thought they just was gonna call us up or whatever. So anyway, they said, they rehearsed with us. They said, this is what y'all gonna do. We're gonna tell you to raise your, we're gonna have you march in. We're gonna have you sit in order. Then we're gonna, how did they say it? They said, you got the paper, and when we ask you to get up, we want you to, we're gonna bring you up to the thing to get the paper and all that stuff, and then everybody once we give everybody that paper saying that you're a member of Alpha Chi, then everybody gonna go back to the seat, and then we're gonna have y'all, after that, you're gonna have y'all sing the song Hail to Alpha Chi as you hold your burnt candle, your candle that's burning. You're gonna have you light the candle, and we're gonna have you say, and I forget the word, but you sing all through it, and all the way through it, you say, Hail to Alpha Chi, right? And then they say, that's it, you ain't Alpha Chi, and there ain't nothing else. So I'm thinking, like I said back there, I let my guard down. But after so many years, like I said, I started getting back into the word, like I should, because like I said, I had been in school and I was trying to keep my focus on my studies. But as I started getting back into the word like I needed to, I started thinking, I was like, Hail to Alpha Chi. I was like, because they don't contact you or anything, where they do contact you, ask you, you want to contribute and all that. And I kind of like, nah, I'm done. I don't need nothing else. I don't need no t-shirts. I don't need whatever. But I said as the years went, I started looking at that and I said, you know what? I allowed myself to be deceived with this stuff. As I went back and I looked at that paper, because I kept it. I kept that and some other stuff. And as I read, I said, this stuff is saying hell. You know, like hell, like hell, like hell, you know, like a type of worship. So anyway, make a long story short, as I thought about it, I said, I can't in true faith point my finger at anybody that's in a fraternity, sorority, free, and say that what I did was different. I didn't do it to the degree that they did it in going through these crazy initiations, because the devil is, of course, gonna approach me of an older age in a different way. Like, we ain't gonna have you go and steal no goats or do some kind of crazy stuff. Go egg somebody's window or some kind of crazy stuff, or go around in your tube socks in sneakers with no other clothes on, run down the street yelling and stuff. I ain't gonna have you do something like that. He's gonna, be sensual, devilish, coaxing to you. It's not that bad. It's not that. But as I start studying even more about the Alpha Child, I said, it's the same connection. It's still connected to the goddess Minerva and all that. And I said, Father, forgive me. I said, because it was like y'all had put something in my heart to tell me, you got some stuff in there that you need to correct. You need to get right. And so anyway, I really got convicted. I asked y'all to forgive me. I said, what do I need to do? He said, you need the diploma, all that stuff. You need to, he said, don't go burn it in trash. He said, nah, that'd be too easy. He said, what you need to do, he said, you need to find the address to the headquarters of Alpha Chi. You need to write them, telling them that you denounced this stuff, and you need to send them that diploma and anything connected back to them, so they'll know. Take my name off the roster, which I did. I wrote a letter. I told them, hey, look, I don't want to be part of this. I denounce it. I said, here's your diploma back. I said, I'm going into all my records where I said, when I applied for a job that I was a member of Alpha Chi. I'm finna go back and I'm gonna remove that off of my resumes and all that. And I do not want to have no connection with y'all. I denounce any covenants, corkadads, or anything that I have. And I sent it off. I sent it back to them. And I never heard back from them. But that is my tale of my testimony of denouncing Alpha Chi. It's not as whatever exciting, but yet it was important to me. And I would tell you that you might not have a big testimony like some of these women and these men coming out saying, I had to chant to the devil and I had to do this and I had to go renounce this. But if you said something like hell, or you lighting a candle or something, or what seemed to be innocent or whatever that's appealing to your intellect, like your grades are so great, this thing that we're pulling you into, it's honor. And I understand in their worldly way of thinking, in their sensual way of thinking, it would be smart for you to say, hey, I'm Alpha Chi, I maintain a good GPA while I was in college or whatever. That would look good, but understanding the spiritual implications of that, which we are getting ready to go into, and to understand why it is so hard for these people that are in the AKAs and the Deltas and the Kappas and all that. Because I have a family member that is is it black and gold. I forgot whatever Martin Luther King, whatever that fraternity he was in. I have a family member that was in that I don't know if they're still active in it. I have family members that are in secret societies, Scottish rites, all that stuff, right? And it seems like, oh, it's not that bad or whatever. But I'm telling you, this is another key to the fact that we are the people, is because of our getting into the participation of these different things, right? And I'm going to quickly try to go over with you what is getting ready to happen. As you see, it's gonna be a pushback from the Divine Nine against all those that denouncing in the broader black community that are not part of them, that they're gonna rise up and try to show the benefit of what they have done. And let's get ready for the intellectual prowess that they're going to use against those that denounce not them, but denounce that they're doing in order to, quote unquote, survive in this world. One of the reasons why I know we are the people is because of our participation in this. Because back in our land, one of the problems that we had was that we refused to destroy the high places. We're going to Leviticus 26:1. And as you find Leviticus 26:1, I'm gonna tell you what a high place was. A high place was there were two types of high places. The first high place was those that were into Baal worship, Shemash worship. In it, they would go into the highest place, wherever it was where they lived at, whether it was some kind of hill, man-made hill, mountain, or whatever. They would try to find the summit of that, and they would build these altars. And they would build these altars either to sacrifice, or they would build these altars to put up a statue of the god or goddess that they were worshiping. So that was one high place. Another kind of high place was a high place that Israel, when they did not have the temple, that they would set up an altar for Yah. And when they had need to do sin offerings or peace offerings or any of that, the high priest would go to these high places and sacrifice these offerings for the people on behalf of their sins to the Most High Yah. But what ended up happening was they had the tabernacle. We know that the tabernacle, once the temple went away, right? But what happened was the people had become so accustomed to going to the high places that some kept going to the high places. But what happened was, as idolatry started coming in amongst Israel after they got in the land, within these high places, a lot of them would be within groves, right? Which was nothing but plant trees and stuff. They would have the altar of that they would sacrifice to Yah, and then they might have an altar, a statue of their different god or goddesses that they worship. It would be in the same high place. So over time, the term of the high place became an evil connotation, because there would be no need for you to be really going to these high places like that, right? And so Yah warned our people before they even went into the land about the high places. And this is where Leviticus 26, we're going to start at verse 1. We're going to read verses 1 and 2, and then we're going to skip down to verse 30. And this is kind of telling Most High Yah, telling them what he was going to do to them if they started going to the high places. Verse 1 of Leviticus 26, he said, "Ye shall make no idols nor graven image, neither rear you up a standing image, neither shall ye set up any image of stone in your land to bow down unto it, for I am the master your Elohim. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the master. Let's skip down to verse 30. He said, and I will destroy your high places and cut down your image and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols, and your soul and my soul shall abhor you. So from verses 2 on to verse 30, Yah was just telling them all the stuff that he was going to do if they bowed down to these different idols and different things. So in verse 30, he said, I'm going to destroy your high places. Because why? Because what ended up happening when our people started doing that, they had an addiction to these high places, right? So let's go to 1 Kings, and we're going to give you an example of this. 1 Kings 14 chapter, and we're going to start at verse 21. And it said, and Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 40 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which the master did choose out of all the tribes of Israel to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah, an Ammonitess. That was the first problem right there. And Judah did evil in the sight of the master, and they provoked him to jealousy with their sins which they had committed, above all that their fathers had done. For they also built them what? High places and images and groves on every hill and under every green tree. Right? See what I'm saying? What they was doing? The evil and wickedness that they were doing. And he said, and there were also sodomites in the land. And they did according to all the abominations of the nations which the master cast out before the children of Israel. So what Yah had warned them back in Leviticus not to do, they were doing. And then let's go to chapter 15. And we're going to start at verse 9. Now, Rehoboam was a wicked king. But after him, his son Asa was born. And so we're going to look at Asa's life, but we're going to look at something that he could not do that had been begun. In verse 9, this is what it says. 1 Kings 15. He said, in the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Asa ruled over Judah. Now, this was not the son of Jeroboam. This was the son of Rehoboam. But in Rehoboam's 20th year of being king over Israel, down in the southern kingdom of Judah, Asa, the son of Jeroboam, the one who's what that had started, rebuilding the high places that his father Solomon had kind of got rid of. Asa, his son, Rehoboam's son, Asa was born, and he started reigning down there. And he said he was 41 years old when he reigned in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Absalom. And I don't know what nation that she was from, but she sounded like she might have been of Judah. He said Asa did that which was right in the eyes of the master, as did David his father. And he took away the sodomites out of the land and removed all the idols that his father had made. And also Maacah, his mother, even her, he removed from being queen, because she had made an idol in a grove, And Asa destroyed her idol and burnt it by the brook Kidron. Now, this is Rehoboam's mother, Maacah, who was a Ammonitess. She had some kind of Ammonitess god, and she had apparently was a queen. So they said they only had one queen in Israel, but apparently she must have been a queen also, because I know it was I know that Joab's grandmother was queen. So this was Asa's grandmother. She was a queen mother, but he removed her from being queen and destroyed her idol. But I want you to notice in verse 14, he was able to get rid of the Sodomites. He was able to get rid of the idol. He got rid of his grandmother's idol that was in a grove. But verse 14 says this. He said, but the high places were not removed. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was perfect with the master all this day. He couldn't get rid of the high places. It was in the people's heart. And this is why with some of those ones that are into these fraternities, sororities, secret societies, or any other group that they got to pledge their loyalty that conflicts with what we say as a believer when we're not supposed to do that, they couldn't get them to turn away from that. Take the idols away, take the groves away, take the sodomites away, but the high places, they could not remove them. And this is a high place for us in the black community is these fraternities, these sororities, these secret societies. There are high places that you can't, I don't care. I can remember when I was in the quote unquote Church of God in Christ, and they had prohibition against secret societies and fraternities, sororities, and all that. And then, you would hear that and you were like, oh yeah, that sounds great. But then you would come back later on and find out, oh yeah, they got them too. They got people that's in fraternities, sororities. They just don't speak it now. They don't talk about it, but they're part of them too, right? They say one thing with their mouth, but what they do is something totally different. So this has been a problem for us coming up out of slavery when we start emulating what the masters were doing. Now understand, Caucasian society, because we are in the land of our captivity. Remember what I read to you years ago coming out of Ezekiel, the 4th chapter, where he talked about in the lands of our captivity, we would eat our polluted bread, right? And how I told you bread is doctrine and teachings, that no matter how much you would try, you were going to have the doctrines of the different nations that you would send off to, but Yah would still hold you to the same standard as if you was in the land, because of when you was in the land, you did what you wasn't supposed to. So he said, I'm going to send you off, and then you're going to worship what? Their gods of what? Wood and stone. And that is what our people are doing. And even with some of us rising up with the holiness movement, the Pentecostal movement, and all these other movements and stuff showing that what this stuff is, it's like you can't remove the high places out of these people's heart. I don't care what you do. He said Asa was perfect in all his ways, just like David, but he could not remove the high places. And because a lot of this stuff is of secrecy and you don't know what they're saying to you is right or wrong or whatever, even if you was able to get them to get rid of all that regalia and all that, it still will be in their heart. Because if we are emulating our masters in Japhetic, or at least the Caucasian section of the Japhetic nations, they love the Greek and Hellenistic lifestyle. And one of the things that the Greeks sought was knowledge, wisdom. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 1. 1 Corinthians 1, first chapter, and we're going to go to verse 18. Now look what it said. This is Saul preaching. He said, for the preaching of the cross to them that perish, for the preaching of the cross to them that perish, foolishness. I think it meant to say is foolishness because this doesn't make sense. So let me say that again. It said, for the preaching of the cross is to them that perish. Okay, I said it wrong. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish, foolishness. But unto us which are saved, it is the power of Yah. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom or the knowledge of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Has not Yah made foolish the wisdom of this world? For after that, in the wisdom of Yah, the world by wisdom knew not Yah. It pleased Yah by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. For the Yahudim or the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek out the wisdom. So if you are part of these Greek panelistic societies, if you are out of these secret societies, which although we know that everything on this earth at one time was black, we know that. We know that all this stuff existed before Caucasians came into power. But once the Caucasians came into rule and they rehashed everything to put to whitewash it, they have whitewashed it, now giving you their whitewashed version of what Yah had told you to not have nothing to do with anyway, because the Greeks seek after knowledge. They seek after wisdom. So the understanding of what most people that talk about these panelistic societies that were patterned off of Greek thought, after the white people who had the fraternities and sororities that came in, was of knowledge. Get education. And Bible said, in all that get understanding. When you get knowledge or whatever, also get an understanding of what that is in relationship to your belief in Yah. So it is nothing what's wrong with us seeking education after slavery. That our people say, hey, we gotta get educated so we can be able to live in these lands with these Caucasians. But the problem again was, Yah said, when you in people's land, you're gonna fall after their gods, both wood and stone. And so when our people start seeking the education, the knowledge, which was based off of Aristotle, Plato, and all these different things, it was the only thing that we had. Part of being able to get into that, they felt, and to make the master seem less intimidated about it, and say, okay, well then they ain't gonna let us into their Greek and their fraternal societies and different things. Let's start our own, right? And let them see, hey, we trying to be just like you, master. We ain't trying to get above it. Now, some people said that they created these things in order to keep their secrets within each other so that the white man would not know when they went into their secret meetings and all these different things. I don't believe that. They patterned them after them because there wasn't nothing that we was doing so secret that prevented them from doing what they needed to do against us anyway. Now, of course, we know in slavery, like I said, we was able to smart them in certain things, what I'm saying, but overall, we still was in this land. And so when we got out of slavery and we wanted to get the education and different things, most, if not all of even what we call HBCUs was not started by us. They were started by white missionaries in order to educate us in the Bible and in simple farming techniques and different things, and also definitely to get us in their mindset, right? To thinking in their mindset, to see the Bible from their point of view. That's why they would tell the black churches that built, look, you can't go back to your African ways. You can't have no drums. You can't have no instruments. You got to pattern everything after us. So these Paleolithic organizations, societies, Greek societies, Yeshua said this is foolishness, right? Not the getting of the knowledge in order to be able to read and write and to do a job, but in order to get access to that knowledge, that you had to get involved in these different societies if you want to get to the upper echelon, is not of the Most High. Because he said that is the foolishness of the Greeks to seek knowledge. And because of that foolishness keeps them from seeing Yah. But this is why these people, they can claim Christianity, right? But they'll hold on to they'll mix the two together, which is even more horrendous. That they will mix the Greek with that. Because he said it is foolishness. He said not many wise in the world are called unto salvation. Because this preaching of the gospel would say you shall not have any other Elohims before them is foolishness. Because as we tell you, Yeshua said he came to write the commandments on our heart, right? We don't have to go through the ceremonial laws in order to do it, but that which the blood of those bulls and goats and different things could not purge away, the blood of Yeshua will purge away. But we don't have to go through those elaborate things there, but also with what we need to seek and grant in order to live this world, we should not in turn have to go into the Greek sacrifices and different things like that in order to get their knowledge. Why do you have to go and pledge and hail to a Minerva? Why do you have to go and do some of this godless pranks and hazing and different things in order to get that knowledge? But then you're going to come back and say, you out there that's talking about the law. Christ did away with that, right? But then you in the same breath say it's okay to go do some of the stuff, get branded and all this other kind of stuff. I don't understand. That's why I said it's going to be very hard. First reason it's going to be hard for a lot of people to turn away is because it's a high place in their heart. And so the second one is they got the Greeks. They seek knowledge. They seek status. And therefore, they're not going to turn from that. They're going to give you every excuse. They're blinded. They're blinded by this. I don't care what they say about them knowing Yah. Yah right here said the two things that keep people from being able to receive the knowledge of Yah is first the Yahudim, the Jews, always got to have a sign, and then the Greeks they got to get some kind of knowledge out of it. He said those two groups of people, right, will not be able to receive this because he said the preaching of the cross to them, to the Yahudim, is a stumbling block. They stumble over it because they said, we will see a sign, Yeshua. He said, I'm not going to give you but one sign of Jonah. But then to the Greeks is foolishness. That's why they say, oh yeah, we go to church and all that stuff. Yeah, we know that. But hey, we got to live in this world. So we going with the Greek. We going with the thing, right? Because I heard some say, well, it ain't got nothing to do. We ain't got nothing to do with religion. Okay, but why do I always hear them when they do and then your foundation is on Greek gods, but then you mix Yeshua or Christ up in there and some of or you change it, right? You might change it. And who knows what you're doing in the rites, in the ones that the closed door meetings, what you actually are saying. Nobody know, and I don't want to know, but I'm just letting you know. He said the reason why one that would have that Yahudim mindset that would want to still remain in the ceremonial laws of the bulls and the goats and all this other kind of stuff, or saying that the works of these different things that you did before Yeshua came gave your salvation. He said you're gonna stumble. You're gonna stumble over the preaching. He said, but if you on the pagan side, on the Gentile side, what's going to present you also is that it's foolishness to you, right? He said it's going to be foolishness. He said, for ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise after the flesh, and not many mighty, not many noble are called. He said, and this is where it's always been. So what is the thing of the Greek societies and the secret societies? It is to get ahead in the things of this world. And it's not bad. If you can get ahead lawfully, according to what the Bible says, can you get ahead that way without being part of these panelistic and secret society? Can you do that? But he said, not many of them mighty, meaning those are strong. Those are strong, I'm strong, right? I'm mighty, or rather, I'm noble, right? I'm a called. He said, they're not called. He said, but Yah has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And Yah has chosen the weak things of the world to confound them that which are mighty. And the base things of the world and things which are despised has Yah chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence, that you could not get before him, say, not only was I saved, Father, but I also was a Delta. I also was an Alpha and all these. And they're going to say, well, I would never say that. But you hold this stuff up and know that it's connected to the Greek thought, which is anathema to him, and yet you hold on to it. Now, some say, well, I'm not active in it. I just did it in college. But you still, that covenant, you made a covenant. You got to break that covenant. You got to denounce. Now, do you have to go out on the social media and do it? I don't really think so. I don't think, but I'm not gonna say anything, against that, the people that have come out, because they might have had their reasons why. But I'm saying, I think that you should think that you will let the headquarters of where you got all your regalia and where your name is, you should write them and tell them, take my name off. I renounce, I denounce. And once you do that, if you got any friends or family members that's in it, you tell them, hey, look, I renounce and I denounce that. I think you be good and be true to it and repent. Ask Yah to cut that covenant so that if you got children, that spirit won't pass on to them. I think if you do that, you okay. I don't think you need to get out here on worldwide news unless the Holy Spirit told you to do it. But I really believe the Holy Spirit allowed this to happen because he wants this discussion to happen again, I believe, so that some people that can do a heart check and really say, you know what, I might not like the way that this young lady did it, but when I think back of what the real point of the matter is, should I have been part of this, then if you can't come up with the conclusion, no, then you better pray to the Most High Yah that he open your eyes why you don't need to be affiliated with that, right? Because he said, I'm not coming after those that's wise and mighty and all these things. He said, but no flesh should glory in his presence, but of him which are in Messiah Yeshua, who of Yah is made unto us wisdom and righteousness and sanctification and redemption, that according as is written, he that glorieth, let him glorieth in the master. And the way they get around this is when they do their different things now, when they do it in public, of course, they always put forth the name of God or Jesus or whatever, as if that's who they really, well, we're just going to switch out the Greek God for Yeshua and his father. No, that's called syncretism, where you're putting together these two different things, which is the same thing that I told you they had the problem with in the high places, where they would have the altar to Yah, but they also had the altar of their different false gods, whether it was Canaanites, Ammonite, whatever. And this is another reason why it's going to be hard for those ones that are in it to denounce. Another reason why they're going to have a hard time denouncing and getting out of it is because, let's go to the scripture first. We're going to go to the scripture first, and then I'll explain. This is another reason why it's going to be hard for them that's in these different groups to come out. This is Proverbs 17 and 17. And it says, a friend loveth at all time, and a brother is born for adversity. So what happens when you are part of these societies, when you get initiated into one of these societies, these fraternal or sororities or a secret society or any other these other societies, and they have you pledge, and when and we know that way back in the day when these different things started, the hazing, the different things that they had were very, very dangerous. And a lot of people did die in going through some of these pledges, right? Nevertheless, they kind of lessened them as it went, but they still made it like it would be like they would always get a group, and they would send you through degrading things as a group. Now it's a thing called group dynamics. When you go through these strenuous different things with a group of people, and y'all overcome them together as a group, it creates a bond there that is hard, that becomes almost like a bond that you would develop with your own brother or sister, natural brother or sister, as the scriptures say. He said a brother is born for adversity, right? And so that's why when you go, as they say, on the line, and all of you that are pledged or whatever, and you come through, right? And you come through together, you get that bond, and that's where you call them brother or sister. That bond is hard to break, even for your own natural brother or sister, not just because of that, because also the secrecy of what around when they say, okay, now forever y'all will be. I think that's why they say a lot of their prejudice, they say that you're going to be forever. You're going to be forever, right? And then you got that strong bond with those that went through with you. And then they say all those that came before you, now you have that bond with them. And it creates such a strong of that bond that is why you have many of them that when you come against that, they will get fighting mad. And I don't care what they call themselves, Christian, Muslim, Hebrew, whatever. They get fighting mad because them coming through that adversity with that person. The military does the same thing. When I went through basic training, right, and we all came through all that together, right, you'll never forget in your mind all those people that came through. Right? When you raise your right hand and you say, and they say, repeat after me, I pledge to defend this country against all enemy, both foreign and domestic, and all this kind of stuff. And then you really get into that. This is one of the reasons why they was able to keep us from doing any popular uprisings after slavery, right? Because once they allowed us into these societies, once they let us create our own society, once they let us into the military, they say, okay, now if you're going to be part of this, you got to mean it from your heart, right? And then they got us, and we made it through like the Buffalo Soldiers. Think about this. And I honor that they had to do, they did what they did, but think about it. They wouldn't have defeated the Indians if it had not been for the Buffalo Soldiers. But if the black people would have really sat back and thought, should I be out here helping these white people conquer these Indian lands and take more territory that they're going to deny us access to? Think about what happened to a lot of the Buffalo Soldiers that made it through the Civil War, the Indian Wars, and then they sent them into the Spanish-American Wars. A lot of them, when they got into those Spanish-American Wars, some of them, especially ones in the Philippines, they deserted, right? Because of some of their treatment during the Spanish-American War, because they would have thought by the time we fought in the Civil War, we fought in the Indian Wars to help you repel the Indians. And then when we get into the Spanish-American War, where we're leading the ground troops assaults and stuff against a lot of these countries like Cuba and Philippines, where they had black people that looked just like them, and we fighting against them. But then you're gonna bring in white officers like Teddy Roosevelt, who had just been in the New York Army National Guard, to lead us into battle, and then take all the credit for it. When some of them got to the Philippines, they had one famous incident of this black Buffalo Soldier lieutenant that defected over to the Philippine freedom fighter side, right? To help them fight against the American troops. They said they kind of woke up and said, man, you know, they don't care nothing about us. And they said they had a lot of court martials and different people that was about to get their retirement out of the military, got messed up or sent to jail or whatever. But they had bought into it when they said, do you pledge to guard this country against all enemy, both foreign and domestic or whatever? And then you would think, but I'm a nation within a nation. My people are not even recognized. But here I am fighting for this nation that does not even recognize my people, right? If they had thought, right? But I'm saying hindsight is 2020. So I mean, understand. I love the Buffalo Soldiers in their heroism, but really, if you really think about it, the same thing that happened in World War II. If you read about the amount of court martials, for y'all say Emmett Till's father was hung by well, let me take that back. I gotta go back and research that. I seen thumbnail, so I'm not sure about that. So let me retract that statement. I'll retract that. I don't know. That's what let me say, allegedly, they said that Emmett Till's father was hung by the U.S. Army that he was in, allegedly. So let me go back and study that before I put out that information, and it's not true. But this is what you see. Or even the thing now with, like I said, the lack of black service members with the Medal of Honor coming out of the global war on terror. You understand what I'm saying? But you pledge, right? So it's the same thing with these, you pledge, right? Now, they're going to make life, it's going to be beneficial to you, whatever, because you got that on your resume, and they say, oh yeah, he or she is into the Greek thought just like us. And you're gonna probably bring up again the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King. You're gonna say, well, he was part of the Divine Nine. But think about it. When he used their wisdom, right, of the nonviolent protests or whatever to get us this, that, and other, what did he turn around and say? You know what? All this stuff that they was telling me is nice, but we ain't gonna get nowhere. The poor is not gonna get nowhere if they don't have economics. So what did he start doing? He started going down there with the sanitation workers, and he started telling the soldiers, hey, we shouldn't be going over in that war fighting against these people. And then he also, he basically said, we need to get our check, and all these different things that went against probably some of the oaths and stuff they, as their group had said. Because to me, the most effective method that he used which was really not his method, was the economic boycott, which was implemented in Birmingham, which was actually the people not going to work. That was the most effective. That's what got them to allow black people to ride those buses. But those that were in the thing say, okay, well, we can't do that no more. We got to do the nonviolent thing, because it really wasn't about to get change over time. And also we know that it was planned that the SODOM has said that all along we planned within this group that we were going to take it over later on, and that black people were going to get pushed aside because of what? The Greek thought, right? It's all to benefit the Greeks, because the Greek love knowledge, love wisdom. And because like I said, when you see a lot of a lot of their initiations have a lot to do sometime with that S stuff. If I keep from getting YouTube to take this video down. It has a lot to do with that. All the kind of crazy stuff. How bad do you want it, right? All kind of wicked, crazy stuff, right? To get in, you gotta go through to get through that. But it's said here, right, in Proverbs, that when you go through the adversity, it's hard for you to come turn around and say, well, I denounce that, because they're gonna be like, we made it through that. I ain't doing that. Here's Numbers. Let's go to Numbers. Let's go to the book of Numbers. This is Numbers 11, starting at verse 1. He said, when the people complained, it displeased the master, and the master heard it, and his anger was kindled. And the fire of the master burnt amongst them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moshe, and when Moshe prayed unto the master, the fire was quenched. And he called the place Tabara, because the fire of the master burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish, which we did eat in Egypt freely, the melons, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic, but our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. Okay, so the first problem you had was the mixed multitude. Now, I don't think this means that these were mulatto people. That certainly we know that the tribe of Manasseh and Ephraim were basically an admixture of the Hebrews and the Egyptians. So we did have that in them two tribes. And I'm pretty sure within some of them other tribes, they had people that was from Judah and Asher and all them that also had intermingled with the Egyptians. You couldn't help it with those hundreds of years that they were there. But I think this mixed multitude had to do with groups of people. In particular, I believe that Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, was an Edomite. And we know that during the famine that Joseph was, they said all nations came into Egypt in order to get their food, in order to keep from starving. And I believe just like Joseph and all, not Joseph, when Jacob and all them came down to Egypt to live and to stay there because of the famine, I believe it was other nations that went down there and remained. The only difference is that our people got food into being enslaved. But I think those other nations were down still, some of them down there too. And I think some of them nations were Edom. I think some of them were in there. And I think it was probably some other nations. Could have been Ammonites and Moabites and all them. And Egyptians. I think that this mixed multitude was them that wanted to get out of Egypt and came, and they were outside of the camp. And the reason I say that, because he said in verse 4, and he said, and the children of Israel wept also. So the mixed multitude, meaning all those ones that had been in Egypt too, that had been in Egypt since the time of Joseph and the famine, and they remained in there. And when they seen Egypt had went down, they said, well, we're going to follow these Israelites, right? We're going to follow after their Elohim, right? Because he's showing all this power, but they really didn't have no real allegiance to him. So as our people always get persuaded by other people, as they start murmuring, and said our people start murmuring. And what did our people murmur? What did they say? Oh, we remember in Egypt we had the free melons, the free cucumbers, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic, all this stuff, right? And I'm like, hold up, what? But then you think about it. What did I just get through reading to you in Proverbs 17:17, that a brother is born out of adversity. So they thought about all the adversity that they had came through while they was in Egypt as slaves, and how they had made it through. But that while they was in slavery, right? But that even though in slavery, they still have, we still have food to eat. we still was surviving, right? So they kind of look at it in a kind of romantic type way, right? Now, we as Black Americans, as some of us look back into as slavery, right? And I think it's kind of been cushioned a little bit of how really bad it was, because we know, now understand what I'm saying. I know it was bad. I know it was bad, but I'm saying sometimes we look back at those people and say, man, they look so strong. Man, they look so whatever. Man, they look like they was really, no. When you read the testimonies of some of them that was in slavery, it was not some of them was starving to death, some of the crazy stuff that was being done to them. There's no element of the slavery that, the only thing we can say is that it was a judgment that we had to go through. Y'all helped us to go through with it, but it was nothing in there that I would want any of our people have to go through that again. You understand? But what happened with these, because they was looking at the desert, they said, well, I know things was bad back there in Egypt, but at least we had some food to eat. We didn't have just this manna. But what had happened was y'all was trying to get them off of that diet that they had while they were in Egypt. And he had kind of like did a stark stark move on them on saying, cut all that stuff off. You're going to eat this manna, which is actually angels' food. And if you read throughout, you'll find that besides those that y'all put plagues on, those one that survived in the desert the whole time, they never got sick. He said Moses' natural strength never abated. He was as strong as he was the day he came out of Egypt. And those that did, Caleb and Joshua, Yeshua, were the same way because of the manna. But the people was not looking at it like that. They was looking back at what they as a people had come through, and they kind of was looking at it with rose-colored glasses, kind of stupidly kind of looking at it like, yeah, I know it was bad, but we had leeks and melons and stuff. So with these same people that are in these fraternities, sororities, they're not, when they were going through whatever, they probably say, oh yeah, that was hard, man. It's something that I would never want to go through, but I still made it through with these people. And so they got that thing again, like I said, born of adversity. It's going to be hard for them to take that and cast it aside. It took me, after I got out of the military, a while to get that military mindset out of me, in the sense of thinking, hey, understand what I'm saying. I had to do what I had to do. I joined the military because it was either that or do some crazy stuff that I didn't want to do. So I did what I did. But what also happened after you be in it so long, you become a quote unquote true believer, where you actually believe all of this different kind of stuff. That's why I'm saying about the Buffalo Soldiers. I don't have no problem. They had to serve to do what they needed to do because there was no other job. But I'm saying, don't be a true believer in this stuff and think that, hey, you all that because they allowed you in their military. Now, I ain't say that you didn't serve. I ain't saying that you didn't go out there in the field and do all your stuff. I ain't say that you didn't go to war and put your life on the line, and that the medals that you have on your chest you didn't earn. But understand, you still in the land of your captivity. And so you got to know that if you made it through any of that, it wasn't because you took some oath and believed in. It was the Most High that helped you. He's the one that helped you and helped you to get to the point that you are, and that you don't put any of that in anything else. And it's the same thing with these society, when you take these oaths and all these things, and you think your friendship and all that, and you give an honor to this, and you say, but I'm really giving it to the Lord or whatever. No, you ain't. You giving it to that, because you wouldn't even have to be in that frame of mind or in that thing if you believe that, right? And so this is going to be the thing, right? they will have to deal with the high places. They're gonna have to deal with the seeking of the knowledge that because it is a Greek fraternity, sorority, whatever, but also the brother born of to adversity, those that they went through, and then all those before them, they have a strong bond that's gonna be hard to break because they're gonna say, "Oh, I pledged here and I did this back here, and you can make it." That's a strong bond that is going to be hard for them to break, for them to turn around after so many years or decades or whatever to break. It's going to be hard, right? But then another thing is the traditions of men. Look what Yeshua said right here. The traditions of men is the biggest. Is going to be the big one. Is going to be the big one. Matthew 15, starting at verse 1. He said, and then came to Yeshua, scribes, Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, why do thy disciples transgress the traditions of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, why do ye also transgress what? The commandments of Yah by your tradition. For Yah commanded, saying, honor thy father and thy mother, and he that curseth father and mother, let him die to death. But ye say, whosoever say to his father or his mother, it is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of Yah of none effect by your tradition. Ye hypocrites, well said Elias, prophesying of you, saying, this people draw nigh unto me with their mouth, and honor me with their lip, but their heart is from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men. What did I tell you? A lot of the pastors, especially in the Baptist church, Methodist, Black Baptist church, Black Methodist church, they're in these fraternities and sororities. But now it's really, now let me take that back. And most black churches, it don't matter. Church of God in Christ, it don't matter. They are in these things. And if they don't openly say it, they secretly in it. But some are coming out, whatever. They're in it, or in some secret society. They're in. Why? Because the traditions of men. Because my mother's mother was one. What? He said, by you keeping forth the traditions of the elders, of the fathers, you have made the word of Yah of none effect. But yet you say you worship me with your heart, but your heart is far from me. You say you worship me, but you teaching the traditions of men. You teaching Greek thought, right? When we came into, but remember, he said in the land of your captivity, you're going to worship other Elohims you have not known, of wood and stone. And the one thing the Greeks are good at is making stone idols, making monuments and different things, right? They good at it, and our people right down for all of that stuff. We down for all that. We down for the Aristotle and the philosophers and all this kind of stuff. And understand, that's what my degree was in. And that could have been one of the reasons, like I said, why my mind was kind of eased to being part of it, because philosophizing and all that stuff came from the Greeks. Because I think in the book of Acts, he said that they spend a lot of time talking about different. In fact, let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. It was Mars Hill. It was when Paul went to Mars Hill. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Okay. See. Yeah. Here. Okay. It is, Acts 17 chapter. Okay, here it is. This is Acts 17 and We're going to start at verse 19. He said, and they took him and brought him into Areopagus, talking about Paul. This is the place where they gathered at, right? Some philosophers called the Epicureans and the Stoics. He said, may we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is, for thou bringest certain things to our ears, which we know therefore what we would know therefore what these things mean. For all the Athenians and strangers that were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear something new. So this is what the Greeks did. They would tell and they would trade back and forth with knowledge. And again, that's what the most of the Panhellenistic and Divine Nine talk about. Education, 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 which again, there's nothing wrong with education, but it is the premier. Religion comes in there somewhere, but it goes back to Matthew 15, where he said, these people all day, they say they worship me, but teaching forth the doctrines of men. Because, like I said, when they come into the churches, now they open. I mean, I didn't grow up in the Baptist church, so I don't know. But I have seen pictures where they show, some of them setting up their fraternal things in their churches, or even some of them that they'll put the protractor and different things on the cornerstone of their churches to say, hey, these churches were founded by people that were Masons. Yes. So we'll just leave that one alone. But then we're going to go to Colossians. We're going to go to Colossians 2. And we're going to start at verse 1. Colossians 2:1 say, I would that ye knew what great confidence I have for you, or for them at Laodicea, and as for many have not seen my face in the flesh, that their hearts might be comforted, being knit together in love, and unto all riches of the full assurance of understanding, to the acknowledgement of the mystery of Yah and of the Father and of Messiah, in whom are hid all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. And this I say, lest any man should beguile you with enticing words. For though I be absent in the flesh, yet am I with you in spirit, rejoicing and beholding your order and the steadfastness of your faith in Messiah. As ye have therefore received Messiah, Yeshua the Master, so walk ye in him, rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after traditions of men, and after the rudiments of the world, and not after Messiah. For in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. So Paul was warning them, and apparently the warning was not heeded, because when the Gentiles got it, they incorporated into their thing that they created called Christianity. And when they enslaved our people, they instilled this form of the faith into us. So it has the element of the Greek thought in this thing of West Eurocentric Christianity that we were already immersed in. And therefore, it's a natural progression that the Greek societies and the Greek thought is going to come. And that although we got our little spin on it, still we see, why is it so hard for our women to break away from the straightened hair? And for a time, our men, because for a time back in the day, our men used to straighten out their hair in order to blend in with the white. Although a lot of the mulatto pictures that you've seen, some of them from coming out of slavery, some of them didn't have the textured hair. Some of them had the texture themselves. But it is in us, or even with the lightening of skin. But not just us here in America, but people around the world. It is in us because he said this was going to happen to us while we would be in our captivity, but that we would have to fight against these things, right? This is what 1 Peter said. This is what Peter had to say in 1 Peter 1:8. and 13. He said, wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Yeshua Mashiach, as obedient children, not fastening yourself according to the former lust in your ignorance, but as he which has called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation, as it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy. For if ye call on the Father, who without respect of person judges according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourn in fear. For as much as ye know ye were not redeemed with corruptible things of silver and gold from your vain conversation received by traditions from your father. Right? You were not redeemed through that, but you were redeemed through the precious blood of Messiah as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. Verse 19. And that goes for when you put the golden tassel and all these things, because don't you understand that when you taking that mortar and that tassel, and that's a Greek a thing where you saying, hey, because the Greeks they had different things. Everything that we're doing in this Western world is as black people is connected to them. Even the jumping of the broom. Did you know that the jumping of the broom didn't start in slavery? That is a custom from the Vikings, but we took it as our own. Of jumping the broom is part of our culture, but it actually came from the Vikings, because again, we are under the European. So when we try to talk about the white people with their making America great again and all these things, which we know is totally devilish, right? But sometimes we try to look back at a lot of stuff that we did, but if you look at it all stems from Greek thought. So we got to understand, we gotta be set free from the fashions of this world, because the fashions of this world will pass away. First Corinthians 7:30 says this. He said, and they that weep as though they weep not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away. So all this fashion, all this being part of this group and part of that group, Paul said it's all going to pass away. It's going to all pass away. Your oaths, your society, all that is going to pass away. And we got to beware of nostalgia. We get too nostalgic and look at pictures, black and white pictures, and think, oh, those people, man, they couldn't do no wrong. They didn't have anything, we need to go back to that day. And I'm telling you, that is not the case, right? This is what Paul said here in Philippians, the 3rd chapter. We're not going to read all. We're going to kind of paraphrase until we get to the part that we want to talk about. But from verses 1 through 5, Paul talks about his pedigree. He talks about how he was a Hebrew. He talks about he was of the tribe of Benjamin. He talks about how he had a zeal as a Pharisee for destroying this new sect, the thing called the assemblies, the way, right? And he said in verse 7, he said, and that which were gain to me, right? He said, but when that I said was a gain to me, being part of the Pharisee club, which was a very important thing, having the great teacher Gamaliel, he had all this pedigree, he had all these. He said, but in verse 7, he said, those things which gained to me, he said, I counted as lost when I came to Yeshua, right? He said, I counted as lost. And he said, doubtlessly, he said, I'll count all things for the loss of the gaining the excellency of the knowledge of Yeshua, right? He said, and being found in him, and not in my own righteousness, not in all that I know, not in all the knowledge that I had, not in all for you that are Hebrew Israelites can say, I can recite the paleo and the Yiddish and all these different things, right? He said, I don't care about that being found in me, right? He said, even the finding of understanding how the feast actually went in the precise days that you think you can, which I made a sermon on that, right? A lesson on. They said, but he said, I counted all off, but I know the power of the resurrection, the power that was able to pull the got Yeshua out of the grave. And he said, in the fellowship of the sufferings and made conformable unto his death. He said, by any means, if I would gain the knowledge. He said, and he said in verse 2 and 12, this is the part that I want to key in. He said, not as though I had already, no, verse 11. So if any means I might obtain unto the resurrection of the dead, not as though I had already obtained, neither were already perfect. This is verse 12. But I follow after them, that I may apprehend for that which I am apprehended of, Yeshua Mashiach. Brother, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before, I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of Yah and Yeshua HaMashiach. So this is why I will say to you that we're once in a fraternity, sorority, secret society, but are not actively in it. You still have something you need to cut loose from you in that past. Because you still got that. You need to cut that covenant and you need to press, because that is a weight that is holding you. And for you that are in it and think that it's something, you need to cast it as dung. Paul said, I cast it dung. And for us who know that we are the people, I thank the Most High that I learned the knowledge of that. Well, but I praise Yah the more that I know his son. I know that this knowledge of who we are is the truth, but it's not something that if it was something that hold me back that I will hold on to. But some of you are letting that hold you back because you're putting that before the knowledge of the Messiah, because you're saying there is no Messiah. And so to you need to cut that loose if that's what's going to keep you from pressing to the mark of the high calling of Yah. And it's the same for those that are in the fraternities, sorority societies. You need to get those high places out of your heart. You need to cut free from the group trying to always seek knowledge, because knowledge puffed up. Look what it did to Solomon. You need to understand, I might have went through these different things, but we all were somewhat deceived maybe at that time, because they always get people that are young, that don't think down the line, and they show you all these different things. And you need to understand, just because your father, your mother's mother did it, don't make it right. Traditions of men will bring us down, and we need to know the fashion of this world is going to pass away, and we also need to beware of nostalgia. But lastly, we need, as people, especially those my age, we need to grow in grace. We need to grow in grace, not in this knowledge of this stuff that we got. 2 Peter 3:18 says this. He said, but grow in grace and in the knowledge of our Master and Savior, Yeshua Mashiach. To him be glory both now and forever. Amen. Grow in grace, my brothers and my sisters. You know what you need to do. And if you don't do it, you need to pray to the Most High, have mercy on your soul, and open your eyes to what you need to do. So with that, I'm going to ask you to give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to subscribe. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment, even if you don't agree with what I'm saying. But I could have gave you many more scriptures. But I believe there's so much information that has come out about why one should not be part of that. I don't even need to give you but a few scriptures, because most of y'all have seen what you need to do is ask the Most High to open up your eyes, right? And so with that, I'm going to ask you to be blessed.